Anthropic just paid $1.5 billion to settle a copyright lawsuit, and this might be the most important AI story nobody's talking about. Listen, AI companies have been walking a legal tightrope for years now, training their models on basically everything they could find on the internet. Books, articles, code, you name it. And Anthropic, the company behind Claude, just became the first major AI lab to face the music in a massive way. This settlement could completely change how AI companies operate, what they're allowed to train on. And honestly, it might even affect the AI tools you use every day. So let me break down exactly what happened, why it matters, and what this means for the future of artificial intelligence. Okay, so here's the deal. Anthropic got sued by a coalition of publishers, authors, and rights holders who claimed that the company used their copyrighted material without permission to train Claude. We're talking about thousands of books, millions of articles, and basically a treasure trove of human knowledge that these creators spent years producing. The lawsuit argued that Anthropic scraped this content from the internet, fed it into their AI models, and then built a billion-dollar business on top of it without paying a single cent to the original creators. And here's where it gets interesting. The plaintiffs weren't just asking for a small payout, they wanted billions in damages, and they got pretty close to that number. After months of legal battles, Anthropic agreed to settle for $1.5 billion. That's billion with a B. To put that in perspective, that's more than most countries spend on their entire education budget. It's one of the largest intellectual property settlements in tech history. But here's what makes this case so important. This wasn't just about money. This lawsuit pulled back the curtain on something the AI industry has been dancing around for years. How do you build an AI that knows everything without stealing from everyone? Think about it. When you train an AI model, you need data. Lots and lots of data. And where does that data come from? Well, until now, AI companies have been using what they call publicly available information. But here's the catch. Just because something is publicly available doesn't mean it's free to use however you want. If I write a book and put it on Amazon, yeah, it's publicly available. You can buy it and read it, but that doesn't give some tech company the right to feed my entire book into their AI without asking me or paying me. That's essentially what was happening. Now, you might be wondering, why did AI companies think this was okay in the first place? Well, there's this legal concept called fair use that's supposed to protect things like education, research, and transformative works. AI companies argued that training AI models falls under fair use because they're not copying the work, they're learning from it, kind of like how a student learns from a textbook. But the courts and these publishers said, hold on a second, this isn't a student learning. This is a multi-billion-dollar company building a product that competes directly with the original creators. If someone can ask Claude to write a book summary instead of buying the actual book, that hurts the author's income. If a company can ask Claude to write code instead of hiring a programmer who learned from coding books, that hurts everyone in that ecosystem. The lawsuit basically said AI companies can't have it both ways. You can't claim you're just learning from the material while simultaneously building tools that replace the need for that material. And this is where things get really interesting. Anthropic settling for $1.5 billion sends a massive signal to every other AI company out there. OpenAI, Google, Meta, they're all watching this very closely. Because if Anthropic had to pay $1.5 billion, what does that mean for them? OpenAI is already facing similar lawsuits from the New York Times and other publishers. Google's getting sued over their AI training data. Meta's dealing with their own copyright issues. This settlement just gave all of those plaintiffs a lot more ammunition and a benchmark number to point to. Some experts think this could lead to a wave of settlements across the industry, potentially costing AI companies tens of billions of dollars combined. Others think companies might start negotiating licensing deals upfront, paying publishers and creators before they use their content for training. So, what does this actually mean for the future? Well, there are a few possible scenarios. First, AI companies might have to completely change how they source training data. Instead of scraping the internet, they might need to license content directly from publishers, pay royalties to authors, or even create their own original training data. This would make AI development way more expensive and potentially slow down innovation. Second, we might see a new marketplace emerge where creators can sell their content specifically for AI training. Imagine authors getting paid every time their writing style is used to train a model, or photographers getting royalties when their images help an AI learn to generate pictures. This could actually create a whole new revenue stream for creators. Third, and this is the scary possibility, smaller AI companies might not be able to compete anymore. If you need billions of dollars just to settle copyright lawsuits or license training data, only the biggest tech giants will be able to afford to play in this space. That means less competition, less innovation, and potentially worse products for consumers. But here's what really keeps me up at night. This settlement answers one question, but raises about 100 more. Like, what about all the AI models that were already trained on this data? Does Anthropic have to retrain Claude from scratch? Probably not, but maybe they should. What about open source AI models that anyone can download and use? Who's responsible for copyright violations there? The people who trained it? The people who use it? Nobody really knows. And here's the philosophical question. If an AI learns from copyrighted material but creates something completely new, is that really copyright infringement? When human artists learn from other artists, we call that inspiration. When AI does it, we call it theft. Where's the line? Now, if you're just a regular person using AI tools, you're probably wondering what this means for you. Well, a few things. First, the AI tools you use might get more expensive. Companies need to recoup these costs somehow, and that usually means higher subscription prices. Second, AI models might actually get less capable in some areas, at least temporarily. If companies can't use certain types of training data anymore, their models might not be as good at certain tasks. We might see gaps in knowledge or abilities that weren't there before. But on the positive side, this could lead to more ethical AI development, creators getting paid fairly, more transparency about where training data comes from, and hopefully a more sustainable ecosystem where both AI companies and content creators can thrive. Look, $1.5 billion is a lot of money, but it might just be the beginning. This settlement is forcing the entire AI industry to reckon with a problem they've been ignoring for years. You can't build the future on someone else's past without asking permission. Whether this leads to better AI, fairer compensation for creators, or just a bunch of expensive legal battles remains to be seen. But one thing's for sure, the Wild West days of AI training data are over. From now on, there are rules, there are consequences, and there's a price tag attached. The next few years are going to be fascinating to watch as the industry figures out how to move forward. Will we see more settlements, new laws, a complete overhaul of how AI is developed? Only time will tell. If you want to stay updated on how this story develops, make sure you're subscribed because this is far from over.